And welcome back to our weekly podcast where we recap the Islanders' recent performance in the last week. And we're going to talk about hot and not players. This week, we'll talk about the ESPN broadcast because it's the first time since 2004 that the Islanders have taken part in that. And then we'll talk about the upcoming games. I'm your host, Tom. My co-host here is James.
Hello.
It was very sing-songy. It was like, it's James.
Well, that's perfect because I think sing-songy is an interesting way to describe the first three games of the season, Tom. Wouldn't you agree?
What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know. We're not professional over here.
I appreciate the attempt at a transition, but we'll just treat it like it worked, and we'll talk about the first three games.
All right.
So I will give a very slight overview here. So opening night, Carolina. It was an interesting game in that, I expected 2-1, 3-2, low scoring. You got two teams that I expect to be in the playoffs at the end of the year. And Carolina just kind of blew us out. 6-3, it doesn't feel like a blowout. Or I guess the way the game was played doesn't feel like a blowout, but we kind of let it get away after the second. And it never really felt like we should win that game, And Sorokin looked a little bit shaky, but no terrible goals, just not any big saves. And that would carry over into the Florida game where Sorokin, I don't know if I could pick out a goal where I'm like, how do you not save that? But I can't pick out a big save. So kind of just position-wise, not ready in the first two games, maybe not prepared for full game speed again. That's understandable to an extent. And also, Zdeno Chara was not helping out. Andy Greene was not helping out. So it was kind of a tough go defensively for the first two games. And honestly, now transitioning into the third game, not that great in the third game either, but bailed out by Sorokin finally getting his game going. And we're thankful because, Chicago outplayed the Islanders for, I would say, 2 periods. And then the third period, the Islanders just kind of let loose. And hopefully that builds the confidence up, but hopefully not too high because they need to know that so far this year, I think they've played one good period.
Wow. Yeah. Tell me how you really feel, Tom. So
that's why we have a podcast, James.
No, so that's actually really interesting because I don't know if it's just my general thoughts about the first three games were I can't tell if there is some playoff fatigue since they made a deep run and the playoffs ended later than they normally would because of the whole COVID
definitely
schedule.
A very short off season.
And so I would assume that would have an impact, and now we're seeing them hopefully starting to get back to their game, which I guess if I wanted to make a narrative around the Blackhawk game, it would be, yeah, sure, maybe they didn't play well for the first 2 periods, but they were wearing the Blackhawks down. They were tiring them out, wearing them down, and then the third period, the floodgates open, and,
I mean, in a way, you are right, because I think by their Corsi, they got better throughout the game. So, they...
And then something else I do worry about wonder about, I guess, is, obviously you have the same top D pairing, Pelech and Polak. But then both defensive pairings, right? The left side you have Greene and Chara, but they're both playing with different people. So
You're old. What's the SpongeBob song? Mr. Krabs gets up. I feel like that's Chara and Greene every day right now.
Yeah, I don't know. We need to get the Isles guys in here to make memes on the fly. They're both playing with different, different partners. So even though obviously Green's played with both Dobson and Mayfield, I'd assume, obviously.
Yeah, Greene was mostly. I wonder, they did play around with everything the other night, which I liked seeing. You got to see Bo on the first line for once, which was kind of cool. And you got to see Wahlstrom moved up to the second line for a bit. That led to the first goal.
Right.
So good job by Trotz early on. It's funny because I think that's both good and alarming, because I feel like usually, so it's good in that it worked. Trotz playing with the lines and it worked. It's bad in that I think the fact that so early on, I feel like Trotz is usually a very methodical guy and he'll let things play out if he feels like they're manageable. Like you said, like Chara and Greene, If he
Right.
felt like they were just not quite there yet, but they'll get there, I feel like he would have left them where they were. I feel like he's legitimately worried about those two not being able to play 82 games because he's already like, oh, geez, how am I going to like make these guys look better?
Yeah.
Like, how can I play around with the lineup to maximize whatever they have left? And, you know, it's not been great for Chara so far. Very slow. He got beat around the corner in the Florida game on a goal. It's not good. And coming into the year, that was my biggest worry with the Isles. And so far, it's been that. And I do think, though, that they are going to, as a team, like the forwards are going to get better with their positioning. The other day, there was a giveaway behind the net by Greene. But, and what made it worse was Pajot, the center, who should be covering the middle of the ice, wasn't there. He was stuck behind the net with Greene. And so now you had a shot right from the middle of the slot with nobody on, whoever it was, I think DeBrincat. And luckily Sorokin got out, was very aggressive, and made a save. But the forwards got to play their part in the defense too. So maybe some rust there. And every year, and I think people are going to notice it this year more because people are on the Islanders a little bit more to win the division. But you're like, for people that are just now tuning into Islander games, which includes the ESPN broadcast, you might notice that they're not going to be that team that you watch in the playoffs that's just like amazing all the time, except for the occasional blowout to Tampa. But like this Islander team routinely goes through like really rough stretches of the year. You said it the last 2 years going into the playoffs. You said it before the podcast.
Yes, I did. I did say whatever you're about to say before we started recording. No, we were just talking about it before we started.
And I guess it's true. Every team goes through stretches like that, but we go through stretches where it feels like pulling teeth to score.
Yeah.
And we do also go through stretches where defensively we're like, wait, I thought we were God on defense, but it does usually even out. But you know, a little bit more worried this year when you have two 40-year-olds on the left side.
Yeah. I was gonna say we'll go into hot or not next, but just because you brought it up, the ESPN broadcast and stuff.
Sure.
Just it was definitely a first broadcast in 18 years. What was it?
Since 2004.
Since 2004.
For us.
Right, for the Islanders.
That's true of the whole league, but we had a playoff. Our last ESPN broadcast was, I think, the last game of the Tampa Bay Lightning series in 2004, which was another lost series to the Tampa Bay Lightning on the way to a Tampa Bay Cup. So Tampa Bay, in their last 3 Cup wins, which are their only 3 Cup wins, they've beaten the Islanders on the way to each.
Well, let's not make it a 4th time. It's a drive for 5, okay? So yeah, and I don't know, like the announcers. I actually wasn't familiar with the announcers. I didn't really watch the intermission reports, but they had audio issues, which I thought was fitting again for a first broadcast and stuff. But I mean, other than that, other than fixable mistakes and just getting used to announcers, I think it was fine. It just took me a while to find the channel because I wasn't, I totally forgot.
You're used to plugging in for a
MSG
national game.
Plus, bro. That's how it goes.
Or like NBC Sports for a national game like that one was. For me, I'm going to pick out a couple things that I'm not sure you noticed, but I noticed them not during the original broadcast. I noticed them today when it was on MSG Plus on repeat. Because I watch every Islander game 6 times over. But no, at one point in the game, it was in a short period. There were 2 like massive errors. First, the announcer, by the way, the color commentator was Ray Ferraro, former Islander. I like him, but I like especially when he talks about when he was a member of the Atlanta Thrashers first team. And he was like, we were a joke. We were terrible. I just love hearing his stories about that. He was like, if you loved the game, that team could suck the love of hockey out of you.
Wow.
So I just love hearing him. Just like it's funny. But getting back to the point, I don't know the actual play-by-plays announcer's name. I'll look it up in between. But he called the puck the ball a couple of times, and within 3 minutes of saying the ball, he also said, "Oh, the Chicago Blackhawks, who last year had 25 wins, 26 losses, and 7 ties." Maybe that's another. Oh, we haven't had NHL since '04. There were still ties, right? Nothing's happened since then. ESPN says. So that.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
If you're going to be charitable, you could say like, I'm not going to be charitable on the ball one. That's just bad. I'll be charitable on the tie one and just be like, whatever. For all intents and purposes, it's kind of a tie. So whatever. But that early on, and like you said, I want to pitch you an idea very quickly. For that, you mentioned there was a little piece where the audio just went out, and you could hear a little bit from the ice. Like you could hear the tiniest bit of just what's going on in the ice.
Oh, that was also weird because it was like the microphone volume with the crowd and the game and stuff like that. That was also kept down.
And we scored right as the sound came back on. That was funny.
Yeah, that was cool.
But I want to pitch to you an idea. This is not my original idea. I've seen this on Twitter all the time. People in the age of ASMR, and I wanted to see your reaction before I continued. People are like, what if we have a dedicated broadcast for for all national games where there's no commentators and it's just the sounds of the game? And I would love that. Obviously, I feel like you'd have to put it on a channel where cursing is okay, like because you're gonna hear. You're probably gonna pick up some stuff from the players. You're probably gonna pick up some really awful stuff from the players. But I do think that's like a super cool idea, and I did actually. And this isn't like a stupid attack on ESPN, but I did actually prefer when I couldn't hear the announcers for a few minutes.
No, yeah, that's interesting. They could call it like the crowd experience or whatever.
Yeah, look at you. You've already got it.
We branded it. We're taking it home, and we
already trademarked it.
Yeah, so
before the video, everyone else can just screw right off.
Sports. No, yeah, that's interesting. I probably would end up I don't know. It would be cool to try, I think, but I would probably end up zoning out of the game more easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do that now. I don't watch the games.
Yeah. I just watch the commercials. So,
everyone that's ever watched the game with me just went, Tom, I hear you scream when they score. It's terrifying.
I hear you scream a lot more than just scoring.
It's true.
So yeah, we should throw a Belmont Bunch watch party. We invite all original 438 of our subscribers. Okay, and if anybody subscribes after this is out, like, sorry, you're not invited. We'll
throw it in a random lot.
Yep, we'll get like a single projector
County
with a single screen, and all 438 of us will watch it.
Yeah,
and without the sound on.
And someone will yell, Dominic Moore's balding.
One person in particular will yell that.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, moving on. Hot or not?
Do you want to start with hot and not?
Yes, start. We've been going for 16 minutes.
No, I mean, do you want to start that segment?
I would like to continue with that segment, yes. Just continue the show with that segment. We haven't begun that segment. Yeah, we have not begun. So... I think the obvious.
Start the show over.
I think the obvious. No, I was distracted before when you were talking about the ESPN thing because I was trying to pull up a list. I pulled up a list of their announcers, but it's like, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 24 people. So
going off memory, I think it was like Sean McDermott, something like that. See. Is there a name close?
Sean McDonough.
McDonough. That must have been
McDonough. Yeah, McDonough. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
That must have been him.
And God.
Oh yeah, he's a play-by-play guy. Okay, yeah.
So this is gonna sound.
We figured it out, everybody. Don't worry.
Because he's very polished. From like he sounds like a broadcaster. Like he's got the voice for it and everything.
I mean, does he normally like? What does he normally? Does he normally do something else, like a different sport?
I'm not sure, but I would assume so based on him calling the puck the ball
and saying ties instead of saying overtime. Losses.
Unless he was frozen and for the last. Ever since 2004, like maybe he just thinks the NHL is still.
Wait, when was that rule instituted?
Which one?
The overtime point.
I think it was like after the lockout, so like 2005, 2006. Yeah.
So he hasn't done play-by-play of hockey since then. So that makes
you should still you should probably still pick up on the new rules over the course of, however many
ESPN
years,
has been
15
frozen
years.
their hockey division. They didn't fire anybody. They kept them on the payroll, but just like they weren't allowed
Do you
to do
think they put
anything.
them where they put them where Disney was? Walt
Mm.
Disney.
Oh.
Frozen.
I thought you meant because you can get like ESPN Plus and Disney Plus or whatever in a package.
No, I meant like physically frozen in a lab
Yes, that's
until
exactly what I think
that's
happened.
where
That's
Barry
exactly what
Melrose. I think that's a clone of him that they actually let do the. They have a show
Oh.
now on ESPN called The Point, and it's like their hockey show. I haven't watched it yet, so I'll give my feedback on that once I do, if I ever find the time. But anyway, hot not.
Ah, yeah, right. So I think there's been one really hot player, and as always, it's Matthew Barzal. Every
There
week
you
he is the
go.
hottest player. But
Hell yeah.
but
Hell yeah, brother.
so by default, the second hottest player is
Anthony Beauvillier.
I was gonna say Oliver Wahlstrom, but that's fine too. But no, the hottest player in terms of their hockey game, I'm talking about obviously
Gotcha,
Thomas,
gotcha.
is yeah. I would say the easy answer is for the best player of the week would be Oliver Wahlstrom. He had 1 goal in each game, or he had at least 1 goal in each game. He had 2 goals in the Blackhawks game, right?
Yeah, so he had 3 goals in 3 games. He didn't score in the Carolina game.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. Just double checking your facts. Sometimes you're wrong. I'm never wrong. And
Maybe they're not my facts. Maybe they're my feelings.
and then
I have separate stats for my feelings.
oh, okay,
And
good.
in that area,
You
Franz
rank
Nielsen
everything.
is still on the team, and Franz Nielsen scored 51 goals last year.
Wow, that's because isn't that his number too?
Yes.
That's crazy. Wow,
Those
what
are
are the chances?
my feeling stats. He scores 51 every year.
And then the not player of the week. I mean, again, the easy answer is Zdeno Chara, but
I think it's Michael Dowcole.
wow.
What
Actually,
a throwback.
I think the hot player of the week is Andrew Ladd, as I have him positioned right here because he
Well
scored
done.
a goal
Yeah.
he's playing for Arizona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job for him.
Good job for him,
I am happy.
We could have used that goal once in a while, but he saved it for Arizona.
Wouldn't have really helped us in the first 2 games anyway. Too much.
That's true.
Probably still lose.
So anyway, yeah, those are the easy answers for hot and not. But I think that we can dissect it more. What do you think? Who do you think are the hot or not
So
players?
I fully agree on Wallstrom and Chara for the hot and not respectively. I had a honorable mention for not as well. That is Josh Bailey.
That's a
So
good
Josh
one.
Bailey, he's starting to pick up some heat again, and it's interesting. There is a segment of the fan base that just hates him, and it doesn't matter how he's doing; they find a way to hate him. I am someone that he won me over big time over the last few years, but I can observe that he's been pretty rough so far. Our whole power play has looked really bad. Josh Bailey has been really bad on the power play. He's looking for passes that aren't there. He doesn't look very good so far. He's a -5.
Wow.
And he's got 1 point and assist. So he's got to pick it up. I've already seen people say, "Hey, I would trade Josh Bailey for a top 4 defenseman." And you know what? Sentimentality aside of him just having played his 920th game with the Islanders, which is really cool.
He's on pace for I think exactly 1,000 games if he plays every game this season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. But I genuinely
Or it might be 999 actually.
It might be. It's very close.
Yeah.
It's right around because he just played his 920th.
Right.
And
And
it's the third game.
Yeah. So I guess it's 999.
Wow. So if they get to the playoffs, game 1 would be 1,000. That's very cool. Anyway.
Game 1. I don't care who it's against. We're playing Tampa, and we're gonna beat them.
Yeah.
Game 2 might be against somebody else, but game 1 we're gonna beat Tampa.
Yeah, it'll be like I think in 2015-16 when we beat the Panthers in the first round. Round 2, I had no expectations. I was just like, we won a series.
Right.
That's my Stanley Cup. And then we beat the Lightning in game 1, and I was like, no one can stop us. And we lost the rest of the game. So, but anyway, Josh Bailey looks really slow. Bad passing so far, and that's his strength is passing. So, I mean, you could probably put a lot of guys in that. Brock Nelson's a -4. Bailey's a -5.
Brock
Let's see.
Nelson's a -4. I gotta pull up the team
and Beauvillier
stats.
is a -3. So that second line is just not gotten off the ground yet.
That's
Basically, outside of Bo scoring last night.
Yeah. So okay. So that's an interesting mention for not because that's my because I think Zdeno Chara is only a -4 at the moment.
Oh boy.
Um,
Oh, let's see. I can sort by that.
Gotta find the
Okay. The highest plus minus is
stats.
Paul Mary, Dobson, Pellick. That makes sense. And Wallstrom since he scored a bunch.
Ooh, Palmieri, yeah,
Barzal's
Dobson.
positive, so that's good. Josh Bailey's the worst on the team with
Look at that.
-5. Green -4.
Chara's
Nelson
only
-4.
-2.
That's shocking.
That
Scott
is
Mayfield's
shocking.
-4. Scott Mayfield, you could probably throw on a consideration for worst player as well. He.
Dude, it's the first thing. It's the first episode we're doing of the season, and we're already throwing Mayfield under the bus. We got to give him a break, man.
Okay, he had a really good playoffs.
He
But
did, yeah.
I do need to I'm trying to put that aside and be like, what have you done for me now? And that's what I'm doing with Bailey and Mayfield.
That's
They've
fair.
both been pretty rough so far.
I think though we are seeing that with a lot of people, a lot of the players.
Rust, like you said.
I really do think that, and I think, like it, you've mentioned it in every one of the recaps. We just haven't mentioned it here. It's like the fact that it's a 13 game road trip, like that's got to be hard. And then I don't think I have a pretty bad feeling that when we get to UBS, it's going to be a couple games before we even get used to that arena. So like it will be. I'm sure it will be nice because they'll be home.
Night one's gonna be, it's gonna be rocking.
Who are they playing?
Calgary.
How is Calgary doing?
I don't think they've won yet, but they've only played like 2 games.
But like, how are they projected to? I don't remember. I don't remember what your rankings were.
No one knows how to project them. I have them just outside the playoffs, but in a bad division. So I essentially think they're going to be between somewhere like 85 points, like a completely respectably non-playoff team, which is where they've been for like a few years. So if that happens again, they're just going to like blow it up.
Yeah. So we have to destroy them on our first home game.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect for Calgary, but
no disrespect, but you guys suck.
No. I part of me wishes it was a bad team so that we would know we'd have a good shot of winning. But also,
Calgary could be bad. Like I said, you never know with Calgary. They are, I guess, the Western Conference version of the Flyers, where the Flyers 1 year will be amazing, the next year they'll be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Calgary was the 1 seed in the West a few years ago and got dummied by the wild card Avalanche.
Damn.
Yeah. So, yeah, things in the NHL, they don't last long. You could miss your window very quickly.
But the Stanley Cup is forever. So that's what I always say.
That's probably true.
That's what I always say.
Change trophies over 100 years in.
Well, no, they have the bands that they're moved. So it's kind of cool.
Have you seen the concept where it's like?
I did. I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
I want it to be like 2 stories tall at some point.
It's like
kneel before your god, Babylon.
It's like 6.5
Try
feet.
to pick it up. Every captain dies trying to pick it up from now on.
It's like 6.5 feet tall, like the one with every single band. But anyway, okay, so I don't think there's really. I guess my opinion about this would be like if you came up to me. And we weren't recording because we never do that. Like we only talk when the camera's on.
No, we only talk via Zoom.
Yeah, or with the camera on, but I'm behind the camera. Is if you went up to me and asked my thoughts about the season, I would have said the only 2 things I would say are.
You'd say, "Get away from me! Why are you asking me that?"
Yeah. And I'd be like, "Wait a second, are you Tom from Belmont Bunch?" And then I'd ask for your autograph. I would say that it's playoff fatigue. I would assume that there's playoff fatigue and just general like start of the season rust, and then and that's actually probably all I would say. Oh, and I am still excited for Parise. That's the last thing I wanted to say. The last thing I want to talk about before we talk about the upcoming games, I think, and then we'll wrap it up. So yeah, I would just say like there's some new members. They got to learn the system. We know that Trotz has a very rigid system. Maybe rigid's not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's his system. Like
I would say pretty rigid.
And because he mixes up the lines so much and stuff. So but rigid, I guess, in terms of like how he wants the players to play. And so I think the rust and then getting everybody kind of on the same board with the system, and I think those really like we'll have to at least wait probably the first month before we get like a reasonable gauge.
Sure. And my biggest worry would just be that Chara and Greene are so diminished at this point that they can't keep up with that system.
Admittedly, I mean, I was really worried about Greene last year, and this year, I don't know. I guess it wasn't as much of a thought for some reason, even though he's older. So I have faith that Greene will be okay. Probably at best, right? You hope that he's as good as he was last year.
Mhm.
And he wasn't the best defenseman, but he was definitely a helpful player. Like I'm
Yeah,
glad he
maybe
was
he's
there.
got to play with Mayfield again. I don't know.
Yeah,
Because I know what they're trying to do with Chara is they're trying to have Dobson, learn from him by playing with him. But I don't know how much you're going to learn game wise. I think I said this in the video last night. I don't know how much you're going to learn game wise from Chara right now because he sucks. You're not going to want to emulate his game right now. You're going to want to emulate like his professionalism, his off the ice stuff. But I do think that already playing with the defensive pairings says to me that Trotz is like probably going to talk to Lou at some point and be like, "Hey, can you give me a functional left-handed D man so that I can pick and choose Greene and Chara based on when they're playing well, instead of them both having to play and them both having to be good every night?"
that's actually interesting. Yeah, like to just have them each play, basically half the season.
Yeah, because I just like at this point I think in their careers neither of them can be a top four defenseman, which means I think the best case scenario, and this is easy to criticize Lou for afterwards because it hasn't worked out, but I would have kept Eric Gustafsson, who they had on a practice contract, a PTO, and they did not sign him to a full contract. He played well in the preseason. He's not like a defensively gifted player, but he adds a lot of offense from the blue line, and I thought that would be a better Letty one-for-one trade-off.
Absolutely.
And Gustafsson actually, he had a revenge game because he's on the Blackhawks. He got an assist on that goal that broke the shutout last night, so I joke about the revenge game, but it was, anytime a former Islander plays the Islanders, they have to get a point.
That's like a law of the universe. It's not even
But I would say that for the Islanders, at some point in the season, I think they're going to be forced, even if they're like good, I think they're going to have to get reinforcements on the left-hand side. Like it's like, for me, it feels inevitable unless Sebastian Aho like breaks out or Robin Salo breaks out in the AHL. I feel like they're going to have to get some outside help for the left side.
Interesting. So who would you say? I mean, you did mention Bailey as. People have talked about Bailey as being a potential trade option.
Yeah, and he needs to start playing better for that to even happen because no one's going to trade for $5.5 million if the guy's not playing well.
But what are other options? If you put on your GM hat, what would be your just some kind of shots in the dark for options for getting another left side D-man?
So it would be really funny if they traded for Letty, but I don't think that'll happen. Letty wasn't great last year anyway. So
he was great for like most of the regular season, I would say. And then I would argue when he started to fall off towards the end of the season, that's when the Islanders started to fall off. Because he was the only player, and I still think this is true, he was the only player on the ice that was able to do zone entries. He was the only person able to carry it into the zone.
That. No, you can see it on the power plays. How big?
Exactly. It's just crazy. So
because everyone knows now that Barzal is the only one that can do that. Because Noah Dobson tried the other night and he gave up a breakaway the other way.
Oh my God!
Noah Dobson's not there yet when it comes to being the puck moving guy. But for like somebody to target, it had been rumored already that the Islanders are inquiring about Hampus Lindholm, who's a left-handed defenseman who's fairly young, like 25, 26 from Anaheim, and he's pretty good. But for that to happen, Anaheim's going to have to be pretty bad.
Right.
Because he's a player that Anaheim could just go, no, we want to build around him. Because Anaheim is like in a rebuild. And maybe you don't want to get rid of a 26-year-old good defenseman in the middle of a rebuild when you want him to be one of the guys. And Anaheim's come out of the gates looking like, competent. So it's going to take Anaheim, falling back to earth and being bad for that to even start up. And we would probably have to give up a lot for that. Hampus Lindholm's a good young player. So we'll see. But that's the first one that comes to mind. If Chicago's as bad as they look, I think that was the dog barking.
I don't
know. If Chicago's as bad as they look so far, maybe you go back and you get Eric Gustafsson from them. We'll see. He's a puck moving defenseman, so something like that. So I guess that's the three for now. I'll keep an eye on Hampus
Well, yeah,
Lindholm.
but like, who do you think we could trade, or what do you think we can give up for
Oh, who
that?
could we give up?
Either like, I don't even know if we have any draft picks left. We've given
I
up
was
a
gonna
lot.
say Bellows, but
Oh
like
yeah.
Bellows doesn't look good. I don't know who would
I
want
mean,
to
I
trade
I
for him
do
right now.
think though there are players that uh that are good or have promise that just for whatever reason don't jive with the trot system. You know?
Sure, like I don't. They do have a lot of forwards now, but I guess what they could do is if somebody sees upside still in Bellows and wants to take a shot on Bellows, and obviously I don't think that would be it. The Islanders would have to attach a pick
Yeah.
as
Oh
well.
yeah.
The Islanders might not be hurt that bad because they could just call up Richard Ponik, who we acquired in the Letty trade,
Oh,
and
I
he
forgot
played
about
really
that. Yeah.
yeah, he played really well in the preseason, but he got sent down because we just had too many forwards.
Mm-hmm.
If the Islanders trade Bellows, I feel pretty comfortable with Ponik coming up. He's a guy who's scored 20 goals a couple times in his career, and the last couple of years have been down, but he was on some bad teams too. He was on Arizona for a year there. He was on the Caps, I think, last year, and then ended up with Detroit. So he's been around the block recently, but I would feel comfortable with him coming up and playing a third line role on occasion. Like
Right.
the third line as it is right now, and this will give me a chance to talk about the third line. Pajot, Parise, Wallstrom has been really good. I know there's not many points, I guess. Pajot's only got 1 point, but it was a great assist last night on the second Wallstrom goal, the spinning pass cross
Yes.
ice. And Parise, I've liked his forechecking. He's faster than the guys that we had on the third line last year.
He reminds me a lot of Bo. Like he has that jump in his step that like and the hustle. I haven't seen him. I haven't like paid attention close enough to like get any more info than that. But definitely he has the wheels or the skates or whatever. I think. I know some people said he did. Like we had that one comment that said they didn't think so. So.
Yeah, I would disagree. With that comment. I agree with you. I think he's got some jump still left in him.
How old
I
is
think
he now?
he's like 35.
Oh, okay. He's older than I thought.
But he's a motivated player.
Yeah.
We'll say because he got bought out of a long-term deal, and when that happens, it's like a line out of Moneyball where the player was like, whatever, you're paying me this much and you're not going to play me, and Billy Bean's like, the Yankees are actually paying most of that contract for you not to play for them. So, that's kind of embarrassing for a player.
Yeah.
You also kind of understand that it's part of the business of the game, but he looks pretty motivated to me so far.
I think so.
And his partner, who came over to Minnesota with him and also got bought out with him in the same offseason, Ryan Suter, has looked pretty good in Dallas since he started there. So I think those players have chips on their shoulder.
For sure.
And so far not a lot of like point production from Parise, but I like what I've seen, and I feel like the points will come.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I think that like once he's more,
Can you hear the dog
I
barking?
can kind of hear the dog. Yeah. Once he's more integrated into the system, and like I would say hopefully I would assume this upcoming week or in the next coming couple games we're gonna see at least some assists.
Yeah.
Some points.
If he's playing with Wallstrom, of course. Wallstrom's going to be getting the goals, baby.
You know what's crazy, though? I was just looking at the Blackhawks game, the players that scored. So 3 of the 4 goals we got were unassisted.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's weird to see that.
That almost makes me feel like...
We got handed a couple goals.
Yeah, exactly.
There were 2 of them that were directly off of blunders.
Yep. Because the first one was Beauvillier, and then both were from Wallstrom. But one of the second goal from Wallstrom was assisted by Pajot, like you said, from the spinning pass. And then Clutterbuck's goal was unassisted.
Yeah, the defenseman fell down.
Yeah, that looked really bad.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the Chicago fans, they already sound done with that team. And it's like 4 games. I feel like the part of that is the media's fault. The lying media. The hockey media has been like pumping up Chicago for some reason, and as if you watched my preview, I had them finishing 7th place in that division, and all of a sudden, like last night I was watching on the broadcast, and I've seen people have them go higher. On the broadcast, they were like, "Oh, of course it's a team that's going to be angry. This is a team that has a lot of talent. They should be in the playoffs." No, they shouldn't. I'm sorry, but that I know the West isn't good, and that like that gives you a chance. But I think the Central is way too good. And look at how they've played so far. They're leaving Andre Fleury out there
Dude,
to dry.
absolutely,
So
yeah.
far.
He was pissed during after that third goal.
Yeah, they're
Fourth
not
goal.
giving him a chance.
Not at all, dude.
And it's kind of maybe that's why I should get off of Sorokin a little bit for the first 2 games, and I haven't been on him too much. But Sorokin was excellent last night. I don't think we win that game if he doesn't stand on his head for 2 periods and give us the chance to fight back. Because I think at one point in the first period, the shots were like 18-8, and that's just not good against a team that I don't think is very good in Chicago. But like we said earlier, they got better throughout the game, so that's something. We're seeing, it was like a flat line through the first 2 games. Now it's like a little pulse coming up. So,
yeah, right. We got life.
So, yeah,
we got a lifeline.
These actually, we could transition this right into the upcoming schedule.
Okay.
For the next week, we have Columbus, Arizona, Vegas. You need to win 2 of those games. It's probably too early in the season to say need, but as you brought up earlier, 13-game road trip. You got to get the wins against the bad teams on the road. And I circle Columbus and Arizona, and I go, you guys, come on, got to win these.
Yeah, like if they can get
Vegas
2 out of 3 wins this week, right? Like, I mean, that would be like that's probably the best way to look at it for the next 3 weeks, whatever, however long this road trip lasts, because it's like if you can win at least break even or win like 2 out of the 3, at the very least win 1 out of the 3.
And there are parts of the schedule that aren't looking that tough in this road trip. Looking past that, so you got Columbus, Arizona, Vegas next week. Then you get Nashville, Montreal, Winnipeg. So you've got a Nashville team that's like okay. You've got a Montreal team that's like absolutely struggling. They're the worst team in hockey so far. They don't have a point yet this year.
Oh my god!
They're missing. Yeah, they're 0-4-0.
Jeez Louise.
They just got annihilated 5-0 by the Sharks, who I don't think are very good. So Montreal's been terrible. So chance for you there. Winnipeg is just finding ways to lose games in funny ways so far. Last night, they were up 5-4. They scored an empty netter that looked like it put the game away. They went offside on the empty netter. It got called back. They gave up the tying goal. They lost an OT. It's one of the most impressive losses I've ever seen.
Wow.
And Winnipeg has a lot of firepower, but their defense has been terrible. You get Minnesota after that. I think Minnesota's pretty good, so that's tough. You get Jersey. Jersey's looked decent so far. Then you get Tampa and Florida. That'll be tough. And then you get Calgary at home.
At home.
So this road trip is not terrible in terms of strength of schedule. So just
and we have like a solid week off. Almost a week off at the end of October. So after we play Nashville, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's only 4 days off. Sorry, I thought it was
still that's
that's surprising. Yeah, just to throw that in there before.
I think that's only fair because the league, that would be a nightmare if they were just making
that much travel. Yeah,
a month and a half straight, or basically, like.
Oh wait, yeah, we have 5 days off after the Vegas game. So after this, so we're recording this on Wednesday the 20th.
Oh, that's terrible for viewership.
It goes, yeah, right.
For us,
an entire week with no content. We'll have to, we'll just have to make something up. So after the Vegas game, it's nothing. There's literally no games during the week next week.
Yeah, I might delete the channel in that period and start over.
Just get really anxious. There's no Islanders.
Yeah, but so, this is actually helping calm me a little bit looking at the schedule because, you just go 13-game road trip to start the year, and the last year the Islanders were under 500 on the road, and so I was worried.
I forgot about that. Wow.
Especially, the good thing so far is I guess the 2 teams you lost to are teams that I think are playoff teams, and the 1 team you beat is a team you should beat. So, I mean, obviously you want to see them start to beat teams that are playoff teams so that they can, assert that they're still as good as they were last year. But for now, I honestly, even though I have high expectations for the season, for this road trip, it's just like, hey, if you can get out of it 6 wins in 13 games, that's fine because you're going to get a lot of home games coming up after that. And so I feel like it'll even out when it comes to that because we were so good at home last year.
Yeah.
And like you said, it'll be interesting to see how quickly they establish.
To see how quickly they get used to it. Part of me almost wishes like they took, and maybe they did do this, I don't know. They took some piece of the Coliseum and like put it like in UBS just to, whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure, I bet you there's something.
Angela!
No. His leg. I'm sure there's some sort of like trinkets that they brought over. I know the locker rooms are a lot nicer apparently because Lou Lamoriello said, "You want to court players from other teams? Yeah, gotta make them remember the island." And to that, I would say 8 bars will make other teams' fans appreciate the Islanders as well.
Oh, 8 bars. Yeah. Is it official that Offside Tavern's coming back?
I haven't seen anything official yet.
Because that Twitter account, the guy just keeps on saying like, I have
it.
this special news announcement to make. Can't wait to make my special. And I'm like, I know one day it's gonna happen, but
I think he's trying to make it a thing. And
yeah,
I think
so.
I hope. I mean, I'm on board with him. I hope it works. I mean,
cool.
I never got to go to Offside a little bit, and
I never went.
It was a lot of fun. I went for one playoff game in 2019. The game where Leo scored and we went up 3-0 on the Penguins. And that place was rocking like a mini Coliseum.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it, everybody. Any last thoughts before we go?
No, just, hopefully that win lets the fan base relax a little bit. Because I know some people were already getting very stressed. And give it time. This road trip is going to be, a challenge. So be patient. Don't really pass judgment on this team until probably after they played a few home games.
Yeah. Actually, just never pass judgment on this team. Only we can do that.
If they don't make the playoffs, we're completely blaming the schedule.
yeah, exactly. And the new arena and ESPN.
And the bars.
And
ESPN. Absolutely, ESPN.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe just ESPN.
Yeah, okay, that's actually fair. All right, so I think there's only one thing left to do.
What's that?
And that is this.
Often imitated, never duplicated. New York Islanders, baby, we're back with a vengeance and we're coming for everybody. And what you gonna do when the New York Islanders run wild on you, baby?
What he said.